Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
It's the Savage Nation. Lou Pate filling in for Dr. Savage. He'll be back tomorrow. In the meantime, get the latest headlines and subscribe to the Savage newsletter at michaelsavage.com. And while you're at michaelsavage.com, you should also check out Dr. Savage's interview with James O'Keefe, just on yesterday's show from Project Veritas. We'll be talking more about that later, but probably the best interview that Dr. Savage has ever done, in my humble opinion. And hey, that's going back over 20 plus years of interviews on this show alone. So go there to michaelsavage.com. And of course, pick up a copy of Trump's War now. It's more important now than ever. Hey, get one for a friend. This message must be heard. As I always say, it's like reading about the current events in our time in real time. Case in point, yesterday, Dr. Savage was the 4 o'clock hour, the second hour of the show, was talking about an event that was going on, the media and all of this type of stuff. And I'm in my car, and I'm not blowing smoke because I'm here filling in for him. This really happened. I'm thinking, wow, this I think it was the monologue, or it might have been after the bottom of the hour. This is dead on. And then he announced that he'd been reading from Trump's War, his battle for America. So, hey, that actually happened to me yesterday. So get your own copy, get one for a friend. In the meantime, we're going to take your phone calls, 855-400-SAVAGE. As you know, this is the cornerstone of the Trump presidency. Welcome to the Savage Nation. We have a lot going on for you. We are going to be bringing you tons of audio. Sarah Huckabee Sanders sticking it to the White House Press Corps yesterday. The latest from Project Veritas, the aforementioned Project Veritas, Van Jones and what he said. And we'll revisit yesterday's Project Veritas breaking news that really exposed CNN. The emperor truly has no clothes, but nobody wants to see Jeff Zucker naked, trust me. So my question to you, the Savage Nation listeners, the Savage Nation family, where does the media go from here? What can CNN do to get its credibility back? Should Jeff Zucker be fired? I work in media. I don't call for anybody to be fired, but this is egregious, what he's been doing for 7, 8, 9 months. I'd say going far back as June 2015. And is Trump winning the war against the media? Boy, I tell you, he's thrown a few sliders and a few curveballs and gotten them all past them. They're striking out left and right. He seems to always come back on top. Which, speaking of, in a baseball analogy, the Chicago Cubs, the World Series champions, for those listening to Dr. Very refreshing that they wanted to be there. They said they wanted to be there. The owners of the Chicago Cubs wanted to be there as well. Everybody wanted to be there. Unlike you hear all of these self-righteous sports celebrities always saying, I'm not going to the White House. Just put it aside. Sports and politics, it's like church and state. It shouldn't miss. So we're going to be asking you those questions. As mentioned, we have the Van Jones audio coming up. And again, go to michaelsavage.com to check out that O'Keefe interview with Dr. Savage yesterday. Elmo. Remember Elmo from when we were a kid? Well, CNN just can't kind of get the stuff off the bottom of its shoe. They interviewed Elmo. Yes, you heard me right. We are not taking hallucinogenics. You are not taking hallucinogenics. They interviewed Elmo, and as you know, popular Sesame Street character. And in the interview, he sympathized with refugee kids and remarking that they are just like kids in America. Elmo was part of a panel and talked about the issue. Really, it was propaganda. They really weren't talking about the issue. They were trying to give misinformation on the refugee issue and the refugee problem and present it as, we'll do it with a little fuzzy Muppet and maybe people will see it our way. But this is CNN. Nobody sees anything their way. So we will touch on that as well. A little closer to home, to the wallet of CNN, Anthony Scaramucci, friend of Donald Trump, and now actually employee working for the White House, just got a new gig, strategy position there, could have a $100 million libel suit due to that story that CNN had to retract over the weekend, linking him with the whole Russian collusion story. So that's something that could break the bank on there. Will it move forward? We'll keep you posted here at the Savage Nation. And I got to say, I got to laugh. Last night I'm flipping through the channels, and there's that Russian Connection show on CNN, which must have been previously scheduled. Obviously, they couldn't change it. And I'm flipping. It was boring, so I went over MSNBC. There's Lawrence O'Donnell. He's all in a tizzy, and he has that face on like he has irritable bowel syndrome all the time. What was he complaining about? What could be so bad? Were there children dying around the world? Were there floods? Has the economy collapsed? Are we at war? No. Donald Trump has copies of Time magazine prints hanging up around his resorts. You know, the kind like you can get at any county fair, at any amusement park, where, you know, I could be on the cover of Sports Illustrated doing the Heisman pose, or I could, you know, be pretending to throw a javelin, or I could have a baseball bat, pretend I'm on the Yankees, and things of that nature. It was, yes, Donald Trump has fake Time magazine pictures in frames around his resorts. The horror. I was appalled. I didn't know what to do. I had to change the channel. I was so upset. Come on. Everybody has those hanging in their basements. Those and the big cartoon things where they accentuate your features, your nose, your ears, your chin. But after the day that CNN had, I guess MSNBC didn't get the message, and they were pushing the outrage. And then today CNN was pushing it. And you know the funny part about it? They kept using the word fake. This is fake news, CNN. This is fake news, MSNBC. And it's like fake Time magazine covers, fake picture of Trump, fake this, fake that. They must have used the word fake 100 times. Were they just that stupid, or were they twisting the knife? I don't know. But it's just funny to listen to. And we have the healthcare thing going on, too. We're going to be talking about that as well. Not much to really say there. You know, will they get the votes? Will they not get the votes? It's been so politicized. All I know is Obamacare has failed miserably by all accounts, and it has to go. The people need something better. But should government be providing health care? Well, not in my opinion. We'll find out what you think. But more importantly, Democrats, along with their wingmen, CNN and MSNBC, they're spreading fear. They're trying to scare people about the new health care law. Now, granted, most of them, like with Obamacare, probably don't even know what's in it. But we are 2 weeks removed from a massacre where Representative Scalise is still in the hospital recovering from his bullet wounds from some liberal left-wing wackadoo who, was he ginned up by what he sees on CNN and MSNBC? One could say that, right? But we are 2 weeks removed from this massacre, and Dems now are saying the GOP is trying to kill people with this health care law. I mean, are you kidding me? Do they really say this and looking at themselves in the mirror? They can't watch the rebroadcast of their own work because they'd have to cringe. So, and then we have the issue of Kate's Law, something that's important to all of us. It's supposed to go for a vote this week. We are on the cusp of a big holiday weekend, and when that comes down, it's going to be huge. For those of you who don't remember, Kate Steinle killed by an illegal alien who had re-entered the country 5 or 7 times. The law would be mandatory prison sentences for deported felons. And if that happens to go down, well, we are going to keep you posted here on the Savage Nation. Also, there is the No Sanctuary for Criminal Acts, which defunds sanctuary cities. So that and a lot more is going to be coming up. Oh, while you're at michaelsavage.com, I neglected to mention, and you're listening to the James O'Keefe interview with Dr. Savage yesterday on the show. During that interview is when James O'Keefe broke the news that the Van Jones audio would be coming down here. So you, the listeners to the Savage Nation family, heard it first. Believe it or not, there is even actually more going on that we are going to get to today. I like to say Gorsuch rules, or is it Neil Gorsuch, newly minted Supreme Court Justice? His rulings are driving the Democrats insane. San Francisco's own Dianne Feinstein says, and I quote, "We've got another Scalia." End quote. Could you just hear the disdain in her voice when she said it? A fake Vietnam veteran, Senator Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut, for those of you listening on Dr. Savage's affiliate WDRC, you know about his fake story. He claimed to serve in Vietnam. He actually still opens his mouth and sticks his head out of the sand as if he wasn't embarrassed enough or embarrassing enough to our friends there in the state of Connecticut. He said, and I quote, Gorsuch's early record on the court is in tension with the humble and even-handed approach he touted during his confirmation. Can't make that stuff up. You think that somebody who faked a war record and got caught would bail out. So there's that, and also acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe facing 3 federal inquiries from sexual discrimination to improper political activity. That story as well is posted on michaelsavage.com. And if you thought we were done with the media here on the Savage Nation, well, we're not. ABC News, another fake news outlet, in my opinion, has settled for $1.9 billion over what's called the pink slime story. They settled with South Dakota meat processor Beef Products, Inc. Diane Sawyer and Jim Avila were named in that suit, basically saying that they painted the beef as being unsafe. Thousands of people in these processing plants lost their jobs. I think about 4 processing plants closed, and these people lost their jobs. They faced up to $5.7 billion in lawsuits, so they cut the money and run $1.9 billion. More media malfeasance, and, well, that brings us to Sarah Palin. She is suing the New York Times. Do you remember back when Representative Gabrielle Giffords was shot? New York Times wrote a piece basically blaming Sarah Palin because she had a map with targets on it around the nation of vulnerable congressional seats, and they should be targeting. Come on. What are we going to go after next? Target the store? That and a lot more. And, of course, your calls, 855-400-SAVAGE. My name is Lou Pate. You are listening to the Savage Nation, the home of Trump's war. Now, and more important than ever, pick one up for a friend. This is the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
It's the Savage Nation. Lou Pate filling in for Dr. Savage. He will be back tomorrow. In the meantime, get all the latest headlines and subscribe to the Savage newsletter at michaelsavage.com. Pick up a copy of Trump's War now. It's more important than ever. And get one for a friend. Trust me, they'll love you for it. And the message within this book must be heard. We are living it every moment of every day. It is real news in real time. You will not be disappointed. Trump's War, his battle for America, his battle for you. If you want to get on the conversation, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Yesterday, when Dr. Savage was talking to James O'Keefe from Project Veritas, a great interview, as I mentioned earlier, one of the best I think Dr. Savage has ever given, James O'Keefe broke the story that he would have more audio today. He was breaking story, and the way he put it was, a name you will all know. Well, that name turned out to be Van Jones, and the audio dropped earlier today, and we'll play it, and I'll explain the origins of the phrase that Van Jones uses. Robert, if you will, please, clip 1.
Hey, man. We met in Palm Springs a few years back.
Good to see you, man. You good?
Yeah. How you been? What are you doing? What do you think's going to happen this week? I mean, with the whole Russia thing.
The Russia thing is just a big nothing burger.
Really?
A big nothing burger. There you heard it. That is Van Jones. Remember the night of Trump's historic win? He called it a white lash against a black president and a changing nation. Okay, this is a guy who has been droning on and on for months and months on CNN, being paid by CNN about the whole Russia collusion story, which we now know to be fake. And Here he is. His guard is down. He's like, hey, man, he's trying to be cool. And, oh, yeah, I met you. And okay. And it's a big nothing burger. This is a guy who's shouting from the biggest CNN microphone that it's an attack on our democracy and something must be done. Of course, leaving out the part that Barack Obama knew about Russia hacking emails and trying to influence the election and did nothing about it because at the time, old Barry thought that Hillary was a shoo-in. She was going to waltz into the White House. So he did nothing. He didn't care about our democracy allegedly being attacked. He didn't care that the Russians were poking around in people's emails. He didn't care about any of that. But the term nothing burger. Nothing burger is a phrase coined by Hillary Clinton. Or maybe she didn't make it up. She is one that has used it and made it famous. It's a big nothing burger, she said, about one of the many, many investigations that came down throughout the Clinton years and their reign of, well, I won't say terror, but their reign of alleged criminal activities. There you have it. That was the big breaking news today. Van Jones, this Russia thing, and I quote, the Russia thing is a big nothing burger. If you want to hear the complete interview with Dr. Savage and James O'Keefe from Project Veritas, go to michaelsavage.com. It is up there, along with a bunch of other news and headlines. And one of the things I heard Dr. Savage and James O'Keefe talk about yesterday was how James O'Keefe is not funded by anybody. And Dr. Savage encouraged people to go to his website, projectveritas.com, and donate a couple of bucks if you could spare it. And I would do the same because I think they do good work. Anybody who is causing the left-wing lunatics headaches the way James O'Keefe and his committed reporters do, should get our money. I'll tell you what, I'd rather give it to him than the government because he spends it seemingly more efficiently and then doesn't have to answer to anybody. I got to tell you, these guys on Project Veritas, they should be salesmen. If they were salesmen, they'd be the most successful salesmen, the way they could just befriend anybody. That other one, we'll play the CNN audio from yesterday. We'll play it again. He befriended the guy for like 3 months. These guys are smooth. I like them. My name is Lou Pate. You are listening to The Savage Nation. Make sure to pick up a copy of Trump's War. Remember, it debuted #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. You are listening to The Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
It's the Savage Nation. Lou Pate filling in for Dr. Savage. He will be back tomorrow. In the meantime, get the latest headlines and subscribe to the Savage newsletter at michaelsavage.com. As mentioned, a lot of the stories that we are talking about here, the O'Keefe interview with Dr. Savage yesterday, the lawsuit with Anthony Scaramucci, $100 million towards CNN. We'll get to it a little later, but Justice Gorsuch driving the Democrats crazy, and acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe facing 3 federal inquiries. They are all there at michaelsavage.com and more, where you can order your copy of Trump's War, His Battle for America. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, it's 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-SAVAGE. Lou Pate here with you. I want to play some more audio before we get to the calls. And we were talking about CNN, and I'm asking you, where does the media go from here? CNN has been exposed. They were caught with their proverbial pants down. Now Donald Trump has pointed the finger at the Washington Post. He tweeted out today saying the Washington Post is fake news. But there's ABC, there's CBS, there's NBC. There are numerous newspapers across the nation and broadcast outlets who have knowingly pushed fake news to try to bring down the Trump presidency, to try to manipulate the mindset of people as we head towards the midterm elections and beyond. Believe me, you say, 2018, Lou, we're in 2017. Trust me, this is all geared towards cementing in a mindset in the minds of moderates and independents out there who will possibly be on the fence for Trump, to sway the balance of power in the Senate, to sway the balance of power in the House. So now they've been exposed. So I ask you, where does the media go from here? We heard the Van Jones audio. Maybe we'll play that a little later. And is Trump winning the war against the media? I say he is. He's winning it big time. He's winning the war against everybody. All you're going to hear now is about his failures. I heard on MSNBC earlier today, they actually had the audacity to say the only win that Donald Trump has had in his young presidency is the confirmation of Neil Gorsuch. They actually said that today. It's his only win. Forget about the Dakota pipeline. Forget about the Keystone pipeline. Forget about opening up ANWR and along the mid-Atlantic states for oil drilling, and on. The list goes on of successes. Getting us out of the Paris Accord. I could talk for an hour about the successes, but in their minds, it's only the Gorsuch confirmation. Here, this is from yesterday. This is the original Project Veritas audio with the CNN producer. Clip 2, Robert, please.
Then why is CNN constantly like Russia this, Russia that?
Because it's ratings.
Because it's ratings?
Our ratings are incredible right now.
But honestly, you think the whole Russia shit is just like bullshit?
Could be bullshit. I mean, it's mostly bullshit right now. Like, we don't have any big giant proof. I just feel like they don't really have it, but they want to keep digging. Mm-hmm. And so I think the president is probably right to say, like, look, you are witch hunting me. Like, you have no smoking gun. You have no real proof.
And the CEO of CNN said in our internal meeting, he said, good job, everybody, covering the climate accords. But we're done with it. Let's get back to Russia.
No proof. Let's get back to Russia. I think the president's right when he says they're witch hunting, and on and on and on. This is a supervising producer at CNN telling the truth when he obviously doesn't know that it's going to come back to haunt them. He wasn't fired, and quite frankly, I don't think he should be fired. Maybe most of CNN should be fired, but maybe this guy should actually not be fired for telling the truth. But he didn't tell the truth. It's not like he went to another network and said, listen, this is what's been going on at CNN. For X amount of months or X amount of years, this is what they've been doing. That would have really propelled him up the ladder in credibility. But he didn't do that. He's just talking in an elevator. He's just talking to a guy that he kind of knows. And now we have the information. And now today, as broken here on the news that broke yesterday on the Savage Nation, that James O'Keefe told Dr. Savage that the Van Jones audio was going to break today, that this Russia thing is a big nothing burger. It's over. So now they're moving on to other things about how Trump is just a failure on this and Trump is just a failure on that. And once Kate's law passes, they'll probably give Barack Obama credit for that. Let's get to the phones. 855-400-SAVAGE.
Pretty good. How's everything?
Okay, thanks for calling the Savage Nation. How can I help you?
Well, this just shows that CNN, NBC, they're all a bunch of robots. They're programmed from the top, from the puppet masters. They have no original thoughts. They can't think outside the box for themselves. And as far as Van Jones, when he commented to whitewash the election, you know how many white people had to vote for Obama to win twice? Was that a whitewash as well?
You know, that's an excellent point, and that's one I've brought up over the years. If you look at the breakdown of our population, the blacks make up approximately 13% of the population. I forget the numbers for Hispanics, but you're not going to count Hispanics as 100% in the tank for a black candidate, the way the black community is. And, you know, the rest is broken up, mostly being white. So, yes, for Barack Obama to be elected president, for Barack Obama to be elected anything, even as senator from Illinois, white people had to vote for him. We are not a racist nation as much as the media would have you believe that we are, Robert. But that's the narrative that they keep pushing, and it's really weird. A bunch of lily white liberals on CNN and MSNBC and all around newspapers around the country pushing this narrative that white people are racist, and this whole myth of white privilege exists. It's kind of disheartening. I don't know what they think they're going to, what they're looking to achieve. Are they looking to hurt their descendants down the line, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren? Do they want it to turn around? Do they want Muslims, Robert, to run the world so that their great-great-great-grandchildren can live under Sharia law and be brutalized? Because that's what would happen. And you look back, and they have no proof of this, though. What do you think?
Well, I mean, as of right now, you asked the question, where are they going to go? Right now, they're in the gutter. They have nowhere to go but up. Somebody on one of these major news networks needs to stand up and be accountable and tell the truth to the American people, because they're hurting the country.
Well said. Thank you very much for your call, Robert. Here's the thing. They will never stand up, as Robert just said, for them to do. Why? They believe it. Their brain is so warped. As Dr. Savage often says, liberalism is a mental disorder. Their minds are so warped that not only do they believe their warped sense of what's right for society, what's good for people, what's bad for people, who are the villains, who are the good guys, that is warped from the get-go. Add in Trump, and it's like a paranoid schizophrenic off of their medication. I will commend Sarah Huckabee Sanders yesterday at the White House press briefing. She got into it with a reporter from Playboy magazine. Who knew Playboy had reporters? I just thought it was all pictures, but I guess times have changed. They have a reporter, and he was giving her a hard time, and this was her response. If we can, Robert, clip number 4. This is Sarah Huckabee Sanders at the White House press briefing.
I hope that outlets that have continued to use either unnamed sources, sometimes stories with no sources at all. We've been going on this Russia-Trump hoax for the better part of a year now with no evidence of anything. Things like the success at the VA barely get covered. They may get covered for an hour at a time, but this story gets covered day in, day out. And I think America is frankly looking for something better. They're looking for something more. And I think they deserve something better from our news media.
Ooh, that's just a mic drop moment, if you will. Sarah Huckabee Sanders at the White House press briefing yesterday after being accosted verbally by a reporter from Playboy magazine. She's tough. I like her. I don't normally like the nepotism hires, the Chris Cuomos, the Anderson Coopers, and alike, and the numerous others. They usually bug me, but when someone actually, earns their keep and holds their own, especially in a White House press briefing room with those vultures, those vipers who were going after her, I think she did really well, and she won me over with that. Let's take a call, 855-400-SAVAGE. Joe at Dr. Savage's flagship in San Francisco, KSFO. How are you?
I'm a short-time listener. I used to listen to KGO or whatever. I used to love Obama and Hillary. But after all this disaster going on in Europe, because I love to travel, but now I'm like, I can't go there anymore because of Obama, his ideology being spread all over the world. But anyway, getting to my point.
Well, just quickly, Joe, I'll tell you why you can't even go visit Yugoslavia thanks to the Clintons.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, whatever. Yeah, the 8 years of whatever that he did. Apparently, he spread all that. Oh, we love everybody. Let everybody in. So now they're having terrorist attack almost every other week. It's ridiculous. I mean, Anyway, so the liberal media, if you think about what they're doing, and including the liberal freaks out there, what they're doing is that they are attacking Trump, and they want him to be assassinated. It's the same ideology as our enemies, Iran, North Korea, and ISIS. So who are they teaming up with? If you think about the ideology, they're on the same side. So they are our enemies. And if you were to look at celebrities, what they're doing today, they are so pissed off at Trump. And you know why? Because they live in a delusional world. They think they are God because they make so much money. They have all these fancy parties. So when they do it.
Well, they believe their own press clippings is what it is. And what they're ticked off at, people like Rob Reiner, who came out with some, dangerous language over the weekend on Twitter. I won't even repeat it. They're just mad that Hillary lost. That's all this is. And I've said this before when I've sat in the big chair here for Dr. Savage, is that it's a media hissy fit. It's a Hollywood hissy fit. It's a tantrum. It is something that is not going away. I said that when I was here a while back. It is something that is not going away. Now, months later, it is still not going away. And, Joe, the foundation of it is the election. They cannot believe that Hillary lost. And not only can they not believe Hillary lost, they cannot believe she lost to someone like Donald Trump, who they view as inferior. They view as some type of Neanderthal. They view as someone not as intelligent as them, someone who doesn't deserve the presidency of the United States. Add in that he ran on a Republican ticket, and it's craziness. Like I said, it's like someone off their meds, and that's what it is. But it's all sour grapes over the election.
Well, I think it's a little bit more than that. I think they are super jealous of what happened. And the reason is that they think they are so big, and if they were to go out and do a surrogate or here I am supporting Hillary Trump, they think they were supposed to win automatically. So when they lost, now their ego is so bruised, they're blaming everything on Trump, and that's why they want to kill him. That's it.
Well, I'll take it one step further, Joe, and thanks for your call. Is liberals don't even think there should be elections. The left wing of the Democratic Party doesn't even think there should be elections in this country. They would like it if it was like Saddam Hussein. They would like it if it was like these dictatorships. Nobody would have liked that better than Barry Obama. He would have loved to have stayed president forever. And he hated the fact, constitutional lawyer, he hated the fact that the Constitution existed and it tied his hands, so to speak, and did not let him run roughshod over our freedoms that, unfortunately, many of us take for granted. But the extreme left wing, the San Francisco liberals, the Seattle liberals, I lived in Seattle for 6 years, oh boy, they're as kooky up there as they are down in San Francisco. They would love it if there was no elections. They would love it if Democrats just ruled overall, not just the presidency, but the House and the Senate. Look at what is, you know what, when we come back, we're going to talk about what's going on in Venezuela, okay? Socialism is crumbling. The media is not covering it because socialism is crumbling, and they're calling for things in this country that would fall under the socialist banner, Bernie Sanders and others. So we'll talk about Venezuela. We'll talk about a lot more when we come back. You want to get on the conversation about the media and where they go from here. 855-400-SAVAGE. My name is Lou Pate. You are at Trump's War, his battle for America, the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
It's the Savage Nation. Lou Pate filling in for Dr. Savage. He will return tomorrow. In the meantime, get the latest headlines and subscribe to the Savage newsletter. It's delivered free to your inbox. Can't ask for a better deal than that. And you can do this by going to michaelsavage.com. While there, check out Dr. Savage's interview with James O'Keefe, Project Veritas. They provided the audio of the CNN producer yesterday, which we played. They provided the audio of Van Jones, the audio we played earlier saying this Russia thing is a big nothing burger. He didn't know he was being recorded. Again, CNN exposed. And it was on the show yesterday where James O'Keefe broke the news to Dr. Savage that he would have that Van Jones audio today. So right here at the Savage Nation, breaking news as always. We're going to continue to take your calls, but after the top of the hour, we want to give everybody enough time to get their thoughts in 855-400-SAVAGE. I mentioned before the break Venezuela. The media in this country, which loves socialism, the left wing of the Democratic Party here, which loves socialism, is not covering the events, the riots, the coup attempt yesterday in Venezuela. They don't want to cover it because they don't want to admit that socialism has failed. Socialism has never worked anywhere in the history of the world. Yesterday, there's been rioting going on in Venezuela now for weeks. By looking at the media in America, you would never hear about it. Looking at the media in Europe, you would never hear. Go to the English sites, go to the Daily Mail, it's never there. It is never covered because the socialist-loving liberals who run the media don't want to admit that socialism failed. Yesterday, they had a bunch of cops in a helicopter drop grenades trying to do a military coup of the government. It didn't work out too well, but that is what is going on in Venezuela, and that is what the Democratic Party is pushing in Washington, D.C. They would love for everything to be socialized, and socialism just doesn't work. We had Bernie Sanders running on it. It doesn't work. Now his wife's under investigation. That's got Bernie in a tizzy. She put a whole college out of business. Come on. It's got to be investigated. Insurance fraud. My name is Lou Pate. You are listening to the home of Trump's war, his battle for America, the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
It's the Savage Nation. Lou Pate filling in for Dr. Savage. He'll be back tomorrow. In the meantime, get all the latest headlines and subscribe to the Savage newsletter at michaelsavage.com. While you're there listening to the interview with Dr. Savage and James O'Keefe from Project Veritas, we've been playing audio from that, Van Jones, and also the CNN producer. That was broken here on the Savage Nation yesterday that the Van Jones audio would come out today. It's actually the headline in Drudge right now. If you're holding pertaining to the media, we're going to get to all of your calls because it's kind of all part and parcel. I want to mention about the travel ban. We have the officials now finalizing the details of the revised travel ban, which the Supreme Court of the United States, okay, they tweaked it a little bit. They said if you have people here, if you have relatives, if you have someone who can vouch for you and your family, you can then come on over. And we'll get into the particular minutiae of that. Kind of reminds me of when my grandparents came over from Italy. You had to have a sponsor. When the millions of immigrants, they weren't refugees, when the millions of immigrants came over, number one, you had to be healthy or you were sent back or you were quarantined and you had to have a sponsor. That's what my grandparents went through when they came over from Italy. So we've got the White House now and the Justice Department, Homeland Security. They're going over how to roll out the new revived travel ban. They don't want to screw it up like they did the first time. Remember when they first announced it? Boom, they just rolled it out, and the airports went crazy, the media went crazy, the activists went crazy. You learn from your mistakes. So now they're giving itself till Thursday to implement this scaled-back travel ban. And it's the countries: Syria, Sudan, Somalia, Libya, Iran, and Yemen. I don't think the travel ban is strong enough, but it's a start. At least they got a 9-0 decision from the Supreme Court. So that's incredible that that's actually going on. And I want to tie this in to the Kate Steinle story because we have the murder of Kate Steinle. We have the Kate's Law vote going to happen. If not today, then tomorrow or possibly Friday. They said definitely before the end of the week. Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House, said that. And it's very important when that happens because Kate's Law is something that affects all of us. If you think the travel ban, it's not that Yemen, it's Iran, it's Libya, it's Somalia, Sudan, Syria, doesn't matter. I'm never going to those places and I don't know anybody who comes from those places. Trust me, it affects you because if a terrorist gets into our country from one of those nations, it could be your life or the life of a loved one or a friend who's in jeopardy. But now Kate's Law is mandatory prison sentences for deported felons. If this law had been on the books, or if the former President Barack Obama had actually enforced immigration laws and sanctuary cities such as New York and San Francisco and all the others in between had enforced the laws that are in our Constitution, the laws of our land, she'd be alive. Kate Steinle would be alive if the president had enacted, instead of going against the laws, the president said, He encouraged sanctuary cities. So we have mayors in all of these cities allowing felons in there. Was it 7 times that guy came in? Truly amazing. There's also going to be the No Sanctuary for Criminals Act, which defunds sanctuary cities. That's another Trump promise. That's something that came through it came out during the campaign. He kept saying that. He's going to defund sanctuary cities. He's going to build a wall. Mexico's going to pay for it. Going to have a travel ban from Muslim countries. For the record, the travel ban, folks, only affects 13% of Muslims. Just remember, if you're a Christian and you're in Syria or the Sudan, you're going to be affected by the travel ban if you want to come here to the United States. So don't let the media lie to you like they lie all the time and pretend that it's only affecting Muslims and they're going to call it a Muslim ban. It is not that at all. Okay, look at what's going on in Europe. Look at one of the callers from the previous hour talking about all of the different terrorist attacks, 3 in England alone. Brussels, France, going back to November of last year with the heavy metal concert there where numerous people were slaughtered with the 3 bombers and then machine gun fire throughout the crowd. This will happen here in America. It's just a matter of time. And the president is trying to do what he can to keep us as safe as possible. You can't be safe 100% of the time. So 9 justices approved with the travel ban, really showing the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal to be the activists that they are. It is truly a disgusting trait what they did. Appointed by Obama, appointed by Bill Clinton, all these different judges doing the Democratic Party's dirty work. It's truly appalling. And now we have CNN at it again, as I mentioned at the top of the show, using Elmo, the doll, to promote Syrian refugees and why they should be here in this country. It is truly amazing. They're not learning from their mistakes. It's like they don't care because they know their other media colleagues will cover for them. So we have Elmo, interviewed by CNN, being part of a panel, saying how Syrian refugee kids are, well, they're just like American kids, and not talking about the terror aspect. Obviously, they're honing in on the heartstrings. Kids. Who doesn't want to see kids have a good life? Who wants to see kids hungry? Who wants to see kids floating up on the shores because they drowned? Nobody. But actually, liberals do, if they could use it for political ammunition to win the argument of the day. And I mean that. They are that demented that if it means using kids as pawns, kids who have died as pawns, they would. And I'd like to know what you think. Kate Steinle, she'd be alive if the former president had enacted the laws on our books. How do you feel about Kate's law? A lot of people are against it. Mandatory prison sentences for deported felons. Liberals say our jails are overcrowded. It's too crowded. We can't put people in there for that. Can't deport them all. Can't throw them all in jail. And what about the no money for sanctuary cities? Boy, that would hit places like San Francisco. That would hit places like, I was going to say Miami, but Miami's not a sanctuary city anymore. They actually buck the system. But New York, please, it's a joke. Let's get to the phones. Let's go to Rosemary at WABC. Rosemary, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Hi there, Lou. I just wanted to say that you mentioned that the left is furious because Hillary didn't win. But I also think they're furious because they see that their whole ideology has been roundly rejected. The sanctuary cities, the groveling to Muslims, all of the large big government, the giveaway programs to people who don't deserve to be getting 50 million checks in the mail from the hundreds and hundreds of giveaway programs the Democrats have installed over a century. People have had it. So the left is furious because they didn't think people were smart enough to see what their tricks were, what their game was.
That is true. They are smug and they do think everybody else is stupid. But here's the thing, Rosemary, they don't care. They don't care if their ideology is rejected. That's where I was talking about in the previous hour about a dictatorship, that they would love to have a dictatorship. They would love to outlaw the elections and not have any more elections. They might have some of them might have criticized Saddam Hussein, but I think they were jealous of the fact that he can have an election and 11 million people all allegedly voted for him. But they don't care, even though they think you're stupid, Rosemary, they think I'm stupid. They think everybody listening right now to the Savage Nation is dumb. But what they'd like nothing more to do is have complete control, and they just don't care what we think. It's not like, oh, they think you rejected it because you're dumb, you're bigoted, you're Islamophobic, and whatever the word of the day is. Don't you see that?
Oh yeah, I see that very clearly. They're the biggest hypocrites on the face of the earth.
Well, pick up a copy of Trump's War, His Battle for America, Rosemary, and right there, Chapter 5, Trump's Culture Wars. It's all right there. Do appreciate your call. 855-400-SAVAGE. Let's change it up. WJRW in Michigan. Steve, welcome to the Savage Nation.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. That doesn't sound like a Michigan accent to me, Steve.
No, I'm originally from Illinois.
Okay.
Transplant. But
how can I help you?
Hey, we talk about the media, and yeah, we know they're a bunch of liberal slime balls, but it's who's listening to it. I was listening to Steve Gruber this morning, and he was saying that CNN, even though they had admitted that they had screwed up, that they had lied and everything else, in their second quarter, they had the best second quarter ratings in their history. So somebody's listening to this garbage, and I think that's...
Well, as the producer said, it's the ratings gold.
Exactly. And that's what seems to be selling, is the garbage.
Well, you got to remember that, tens of millions of people voted for Hillary Clinton. And so there's a whole audience out there. Half of the people who actually voted, a little more than half of the people who actually voted, are not fans of Trump. And then you have Republicans who didn't vote, the never Trumpers, represented by the Jim Jordans and the Ben Sasses and all of those in Congress, that they want to see him fall, and they sold it good. The media sold it good in the beginning, Steve, that, there's something here. Maxine Waters, we played audio here. Dr. Savage has played audio, and I have played audio, and I've been fortunate enough to sit in. Maxine Waters, impeachment. They sold it good. Even neighbors were asking me, Steve, where's this going to go? And I would tell them nowhere. There's no proof. But they sold it. They hooked everybody, and then everybody was just waiting for the proof. Now they're left with egg on their face because, Comey did what he did, and now the news has come. Jay Johnson did what he did, and it's just being killed. And now CNN was left exposed. So it's gone, but they're still pushing it.
Yeah. I hope that eventually enough people get sick of it to where basically they just tune them out.
Steve, thanks for your call. But the sad news is the left-wing extremists in this country, they feed off of it. They don't want it to go away. Even though it's been proven that it's not true, they won't let it go. They're just going to keep pounding that drum. 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. My name is Lou Pate. Happy to be sitting here in the home of Trump's War, His Battle for America. Folks, more important now than ever that you pick up a copy of Dr. Savage's latest book, which debuted #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. And if you've read it, well, pick up a copy for a friend. And while at michaelsavage.com, check out all the news, all the headlines, subscribe to the newsletter, delivered free to your inbox. My name is Lou Pate. You are listening to The Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Welcome back. It's the Savage Nation. Lou Pate filling in for Dr. Savage. He'll be back tomorrow. Get all the latest headlines. Subscribe to the Savage newsletter. Go to michaelsavage.com. While there, check out Dr. Savage's interview with James O'Keefe from Project Veritas. Excellent interview. Probably one of the best Dr. Savage has ever done, if not the best. And that's saying a lot, going back 2+ decades of interviews. And you can also sign up for your newsletter, which is delivered free to your inbox. And if you have not ordered the book that debuted #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. I hold it in my hand right now. Trump's War, His Battle for America. You are basically missing a book that is the equivalent to live streaming of our news. I kid you not. I told you at the start of the show, Dr. Savage read from the book yesterday. I was in the car. I turned it on. I didn't know he was citing the book, and I thought he was talking about events that were going on yesterday. That's how visionary it is. So check it out. Trump's War, His Battle for America. Get one for a friend as well. 855-400-SAVAGE. Lou Pate here with you. We're talking about the travel ban, the pending vote on Kate's Law, which would be mandatory jail time for deported felons, and also the No Sanctuary for Criminals Act, which defunds sanctuary cities. CNN, as I mentioned, interviewed Elmo, yes, the fuzzy Elmo, in a way to propagandize Syrian refugees, tugging on the heartstrings of the American people by using the Syrian children rather than the Syrian adults who were involved in terrorism and those other Syrian adults who were involved in the rapes throughout Europe that no one is reporting on. Now, granted, not all of them, but the crime rate is through the roof wherever they go. That cannot be denied. Robert, if we can play, this is CNN using Sesame Street's Elmo to attack Trump's travel ban.
Elmo, can I just start by asking you, because I know you went to visit a refugee camp in Jordan, right?
Yes.
Back in February?
Yes.
What was it like?
It was really wonderful. Oh, Elmo and Miss Sherry went to Jordan together.
We did.
And it was really wonderful because Elmo got to meet a lot of new friends.
A lot of new friends? And did you find that the Syrian little girls and little boys were a lot like your friends here in America?
Yeah, they really were. It was very interesting because they like to play and learn, just like Elmo and all of his friends at Sesame Street.
Come on, folks. This isn't about Syrian children. This is about vetting people who are coming over to our nation, just like they vet the millions of immigrants who came through Ellis Island. This is about a new world of terrorism where lone wolves will take a car or a bus or a truck and drive through a boardwalk area where people are walking after dinner, drive through a Christmas market, drive through where people are going to their 9-to-5s like happened in Westminster Abbey, kill people at concerts. These are the people we're trying to keep out of the United States, not innocent children. But you notice when it comes to immigration, folks, the left always has to, really go low. And what I mean by that is they keep talking about anchor babies here in the United States. They keep talking about families being broken up. Now, CNN, fake news, lowest of the low, even lower than MSNBC, if that's possible. Remember, MSNBC hired Ronan Farrow and Al Sharpton. Can't get much lower than that, but CNN and Jeff Zucker sink very low to use children. That's what they're doing. They're using children in order to make their point. And the point is the safety of you, the safety of your family. When you fly, so you don't have to worry about it. When you go to a movie or a restaurant, you don't have to worry about it. You go to a ball game or some other outdoor event that's taking part in the stadium, you don't have to constantly look around and worry if you're going to be blown up. If you're walking down a street, you don't have to worry about being run down by some nut in a truck anywhere in the Savage Nation listening area. More when we come back. If you're holding, please continue to hold. We're going to take your calls, 855-400-SAVAGE. My name is Lou Pate. Happy to be sitting in here for Dr. Savage at Trump's War, His Battle for America, the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
It's the Savage Nation. Lou Pate filling in for Dr. Savage. He'll be back tomorrow. In the meantime, get all the latest headlines and subscribe to the Savage newsletter. It is delivered free to your inbox. To do so, go to michaelsavage.com. While there, check out Dr. Savage's interview yesterday with Project Veritas head James O'Keefe, who, during that interview, broke the news that he would have the Van Jones audio today. He didn't say Van Jones. He just said more CNN audio today. We played that for you earlier. Maybe we'll play it for you a little later. But that and much more you can find at michaelsavage.com. But most importantly, well, Not saying your news and headlines are not important, but Trump's war, his battle for America, it's more important now than ever. And if you've read it, get one for a friend. It makes a great gift. This message must be heard. I can't say it enough. It's like reading the events of our times in real time. So pick it up, Trump's War at michaelsavage.com. 855-400-SAVAGE. Lou Pate here with you, talking about the travel ban and talking about how it ties into Kate's Law and also the ridiculous notion that CNN had of interviewing Elmo and using children for propaganda purposes to push the immigration status of refugees to, well, criticize Trump's travel ban. What is it about the liberals here in America that they care more about people coming in from the outside than they do for you, regardless of your political persuasion? Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter, white, black, Asian. It doesn't matter what you are, Hispanic, Native American. Can I say Indian? What is it? Why don't they care about the safety of Americans, hardworking Americans? What do they have against not stopping people from coming in, but vetting people from coming in and making sure they do not have nefarious plans? I'll ask that of any politician. Are you against it simply because it's coming from a Republican president who you do not feel should be president? Is it because of the sour grapes of the lost election? Is it because liberals loathe America and think it's some type of despicable place? I think that's a big part of it. They hate this country, yet they choose to live here. I have some friends who are liberals, and, we'll get into spirited debates occasionally. And my trump card, no pun intended, is always, but you choose to live here. I don't say get out. I don't say love it or leave it. I just say you choose to live here. Let's get to the phones. 855-400-SAVAGE. No, first, I'm getting ahead of myself. Don't go away. I'm going to get to the calls. Here is the Brooklyn Center, Minnesota Mayor Tim Wilson reacting to the travel ban. I wanted to get this in here. Clip number 10, please, Robert.
Right off the top of my head, I think it's unwarranted. I think it's un-American. I don't think it's what this country was built on. If you think back to Ellis Island, we've had a lot of immigrants, a lot of refugees, a lot of people who have come in from different countries, and now our Americans are in second and third generation. So not to allow immigrants or refugees that are having an extremely poor time in the countries of their origin, especially in West Africa, with the wars and the genocide and all the things that we see there, I don't think it's American at all to say that there will be a travel ban to have from those countries, individuals won't be allowed into the United States.
He doesn't know his history, or he's lying. As mentioned earlier in the show, when immigrants came over from European nations in the early 1900s, they were vetted. They had to have a sponsor or they could not get into the country. They had to be healthy or they were sent back or quarantined. There were rules. They were vetted. And I am a descendant of immigrants who came through Ellis Island. My grandparents' name is in bronze on the wall there of Ellis Island. They were coming here for a better life. No terrorists came through Ellis Island, okay? Now, it is unfortunate for the honest people who are stuck in these decrepit countries where there's wars going on and famine and so on and so forth, but the Muslim faith needs to get its kitchen in order, okay? And we're seeing a little bit of that. I don't know how well intended it really is or if it's true. We see some Muslim nations, because of Trump's instruction, backing away from Qatar, and because of their actions and their activities with terrorists. Is this the start of something new, or are they doing the save face? But that's another thing you won't hear about in the media. Donald Trump's super successful trip to the Middle East. He met with our friends of the Jewish faith. He met with Arabs. Notice I didn't say friends, because I don't think any of the Arab nations are truly our friends. And weeks after he left, they all started distancing themselves from Qatar. This is what leadership is. You hardly heard about the trip on the mainstream media because it was successful. And then when countries like Saudi Arabia and others started moving away from Qatar, everybody knew it was because of what Trump said and the deals that he made with them, and the media didn't want to touch it. That's why I laugh when I see on MSNBC they say, his only success is the Gorsuch confirmation. Let's get to the phones. WMEX in Massachusetts. Scott, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Pate. I'd like to say that President Trump's travel ban against the 7 Muslim nations is anti-Muslim bigotry and hysteria. There is absolutely no Muslim threat to America whatsoever. On the contrary, there is a Jewish threat to America.
Hold on, before you get into the whole Zionist thing, let me ask you this. How do you say it's Muslim bigotry when it only affects 13% of Muslims?
It goes, let's be honest, let's not kid ourselves. You ask Americans in the heartland, they think all Muslims are terrorists.
We're not talking about Americans in the heartland, many of them listening right now to the Savage Nation, Scott. We're talking about the travel ban. See, you know what you sound like to me, like some of those activist judges on the circuit courts, most namely the Ninth, who didn't look at the wording of the travel ban and went with what they were hearing in the media, went with what they thought were the assumed positions of people in the heartland and every other place. What about the travel ban that makes it anti-Muslim? The wording of it, give it to me, because it only affects 13% of Muslims in the world.
First of all, this is all regurgitated from the Jewish liberal press by Bloomberg.
Actually, Scott, it's regurgitated from the Obama administration. It was the Obama administration who came up with the 7 nations that are listed in the travel ban: Syria, Sudan, Somalia, Libya, Iran, and Yemen. That list was put together by the Obama administration. Are you aware of that?
So you don't think that the Jews are playing...
Hold on. Answer my question, then we'll talk about my friends of the Jewish faith. Did you know it came from the Obama administration?
All I know, that's irrelevant to me. We started a war in 2000.
How is it irrelevant? Wait, hold on. The foundation, the origin of the countries on the travel ban list come from the Obama administration. How can that be insignificant? Scott, here's what I think. I think you have a problem with the Jewish faith. Whether you're an anti-Semite or not, I don't know. You certainly sound like one, because I'm trying to have a nice conversation with you, and you don't want to answer any of my very easy to answer and logical questions. You're just droning on with this anti-Semitic theme. So if you're going to say the travel ban is anti-Muslim bigotry, I'm going to say that the contents of what you are saying borders on anti-Semitism, and you must check yourself, okay? You never once mentioned the wording of the travel ban. You never mentioned the politics of it. You're all hung up on this Arab versus Jewish people thing, and obviously you are not a fan of Jewish people. So we'll just let you go. And, boy, it must be a long night living with yourself. Let's go out to Arizona. KTOX Thomas, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Well, hello, Mr. Pate. Thank you for taking my call. What a privilege.
No, please call me Lou.
Lou. Thank you, Lou.
How can I help you?
Well, I would like to say something. Just a couple of days ago, I really enjoy the show. I like Dr. Savage. He did make a statement that was kind of offensive. He basically painted all Democrats, people on the left, as, over the top crazy. And I just wanted to say, in all fairness, we're not all the same way. Now, I was raised Democrat, from time I was birthed. And, the way that they're behaving now, our leaders, I'm just a peasant, but the leaders are basically embarrassing us, I didn't vote for Hillary, but I didn't vote for Trump either. My mother and myself, neither one of us voted. And then we found out later my sister actually voted for Trump. And
you buy her a Make America Great hat again. Hey, listen, Thomas, let me ask you this. How old are you?
I'm 51.
Okay, you're 51 years old. You're what, a 1965 baby, give or take the month. Now, think about growing up. I know when you grew up, because I grew up the same way. My neighborhood was Republican and Democrat, but everybody was moderates. They could have voted any which way, except for, of course, when McGovern was on the ticket. But everybody was moderates. A lot of those moderate Republicans voted for Kennedy. A lot of those moderate Republicans, they went back and forth. It was really right along the line, okay? Those days are gone. Look at it now. Look how extreme the Democratic Party has. A guy like John F. Kennedy wouldn't get past the primaries right now. He was too much of a moderate. I mean, I know he's an icon, and it's unfortunate his death provided him with the iconic status, but Look at his politics of tax cuts and so on and so forth, his positions on race relations, which he said he never experienced, he only read about in books. I mean, the guy was a moderate. He wouldn't get past the Iowa caucus today. The party has gone full-blooded craziness. Look, Thomas, at the leadership. Nancy Pelosi, left-wing nut job. What's his name? Senator Chuck E. Cheese Schumer, left-wing nut job, crybaby. And Maxine Waters. These are the faces of the Democratic Party of today. There's no moderates there, Thomas. I mean, that he's right when he said that. And look at the way they present themselves in the media. Look at the riots in Berkeley in February. Look at the shooting of Representative Scalise and a few others just 2 weeks ago. You know, no one is coming out. Obviously, they came out against the shooting, but no one's coming out against the riots. No one's coming out against all the violence coming from the left. No Democratic leaders are talking about conservative speakers being banned from universities. It is not the Democratic Party that you grew up in 51 years ago.
Yeah, see, when I was raised, my father was, we believed that the Democrat Party was for the working people, the poor people, the working class, and the Republicans were for the rich and, didn't care about people. So that was the premise that I was raised on.
But that's always been a talking point.
Yeah, exactly. But the way the Democratic Party is today, I voted for Obama on the very first one, the very first, presidential. And
08, okay.
Again, because I was let down, but I was interested in the change and, the first black leader of America and all that kind of thing. I thought it was good for the country. It turned out to be a letdown. I didn't vote for, Hillary this time because basically I believe she's a criminal, if you want to know the
Well, no, because she is. But, Thomas, let me ask you this. I don't want to get to the whole race thing, but I ask you, what do you think about the fact that President Obama misled you from the beginning by saying he was black when he's 50% white, his mother's 100% white, and his father was 100% black? He is as biracial as they come. He could have brought so many people together if he said, I'm 50% white, 50% black. I am America's melting pot. I am biracial. But it was more politically expedient for him to sell himself as a black man, so he did it. So he's lying to you from the beginning. Even, look, all these years later, you still refer to him as a black man when he is truly biracial.
I understand.
So, I mean, someone's going to lie to you from the get-go. How could you believe anything else they say? It shouldn't be about the color of their skin. It shouldn't be about anything except how they're going to lead the country. And the media pushes this narrative that Republicans are for the rich people and Democrats are for the working man. Look at the economy, Thomas. Look at the way the Democrats have left. They had control of it for like 70 years. And, look what they did to it. Look at the shape of unions today. They don't care about union workers. I grew up in a union household. They only come to the union manufacturing plants and construction sites every 4 years. In the meantime, you can't get them to return a phone call. Call Chuck Schumer tomorrow, see if he calls you back. Although I'm not proud of your senator there, Thomas, John McCain. I'm not a fan. But all right, thank you for your call, Thomas. Do appreciate it. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. 855-400-SAVAGE. If you're holding, please continue to hold. Excellent call, although we're on different ends of the political spectrum. He sounds like a well-rounded guy. The Democratic Party that Thomas in Arizona was born into 51 years ago doesn't exist anymore. As I said, Kennedy wouldn't get elected dog catcher today. The guy wouldn't make it past the first primary. It's run by a bunch of left-wing lunatic extremists. And you know what? You could read all about it in Trump's War, His Battle for America. Pick up a copy by going to michaelsavage.com, check out your headlines, and subscribe to the newsletter delivered free to your inbox. And if you've already read Trump's War, well, pick up a copy for a friend. The message must be heard. My name is Lou Pate. You are listening to The Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Welcome back. It's the Savage Nation, the home of Trump's war, his battle for America. My name is Lou Pate, sitting in for Dr. Savage. He will return tomorrow. Go to michaelsavage.com, sign up for the newsletter, get your latest headlines, and listen to the interview with Dr. Savage and James O'Keefe from yesterday. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. It is the best interview Dr. Savage has ever given, and that, my friends, is saying a lot. And if you already got your copy of Trump's War, well, get one for a friend, because the message must be heard. It's more important now than ever. If you're holding, please continue to hold. I see you all there. I'm going to get to all of you. We're just going to play some audio here and then give you plenty of time on the other side of the break. We're talking about the travel ban, Elmo being used for propaganda purposes, the pending vote on Kate's Law, and here we enter into the fray. Mayor Marty Walsh from Boston. Clip number 9, please, Robert.
I can't really say I'm surprised with the Supreme Court. It seems like, some of them are going to be in line with the president here on the travel ban. I think that the ruling of keeping lifting the travel ban before the case is heard, I think that's going to cause a lot of confusion and problems at airports. It's unfortunate that we're painting every person from these 6 Muslim communities, Muslim countries, as terrorists. It's not the case. And I think it's unfortunate what's happening right now in our country.
Well, it's not just Muslims. So let's not misrepresent it. And the Trump administration is finalizing deals to revive the travel ban properly, unlike the bad release the first time. Lou Pate here with you. If you're holding, please continue to hold. Pick up your copy of Trump's War, His Battle for America. You are listening to The Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
It's the Savage Nation. Lou Pate filling in for Dr. Savage. He will be back tomorrow. In the meantime, get all the latest headlines. Subscribe to the Savage newsletter by going to michaelsavage.com. The newsletter is delivered free to your inbox, but there's so much more on michaelsavage.com. Right now, I encourage you to check out the interview with James O'Keefe from Project Veritas, probably the best interview that Dr. Savage has done in his career, and that is saying a lot. It is during that interview that James O'Keefe broke the news that he would be releasing more audio today, and that audio came out, and that is the Van Jones audio saying, and I quote, "The Russia thing is just a big nothing burger," end quote. That story broke right here on the Savage Nation. 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. If you're holding, please continue to hold. We're going to get to all of your calls, but in the meantime, this is the home of Trump's war, his battle for America. More important now than ever. If you have not gotten your copy, pick one up. If you've gotten your copy, well, pick one up for a friend as well, because you're not going to want to give it as a gift, your copy to lend, because you're going to want to follow through. As I said, Dr. Savage read through the book yesterday, and I thought it was a great part of the show. I didn't know he was reading because I tuned in late. I was in my car, and he was reading from the book, and I thought it pertained to actions from yesterday, current events. So it's like experiencing our news in real time. Trump's war, his battle for America. Well, we've covered a lot, and we've got a lot more to go to. We're going to get to your calls. We talked CNN. We talked media. We talked where does the media go from here? Is Trump winning his war against the media? And then extensive conversation on Kate's Law and the travel ban. We didn't even touch too much on No Sanctuary for Criminals Act, which would defund sanctuary cities. That is a big one. Elmo being used for propaganda purposes. And I want to tie in something I touched on earlier. Supreme Court's in session. They'll be leaving for the summer soon, and Justice Gorsuch is on the bench. We now know where he stands and how he would vote, and it is driving Democrats insane. If you go to michaelsavage.com, there is the story that links to Breitbart that shows how Democrats are desperate over the decisions by Judge Gorsuch. So you could say the rulings by Gorsuch, but I just say Gorsuch rules. Dianne Feinstein said, "We've got another Scalia." That's a quote. Fake Vietnam veteran, the senator from Connecticut, Richard Blumenthal, said, and I quote, Gorsuch's early record on court is in tension with the humble and even handed approach he touted during his confirmation and more. So he is driving them nuts. And I love that. What did they expect? Yes, he was well-rounded. Did they expect him to have an attitude in the interviews? Did they really think he was going to vote like Ruth Bader Ginsburg? He is what the president promised. He is what the president delivered. And it's amazing. It's like they're surprised. Every time something doesn't go the Democrats' way, they're surprised. It is truly an amazing phenomenon. And on the other hand, we have, acting FBI chief Andrew McCabe. He is under 3 separate federal inquiries, and they range from sexual discrimination to improper political activity. That is pretty wild. Robin Gritz, as being reported by Circa News, she was a decorated counterterrorism agent, has filed a sexual discrimination and retaliation complaint that names McCabe and other top officials. Now, I don't know if you realize how huge this is. It is an incredible story, and it's working its way through the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. You have to go through HR, basically, and it's awaiting review by an administrative law judge in the Office of Federal Operations. This guy, McCabe, thought he was going to be taking over the FBI. He's a buddy, he's a crony of Comey, and he might have violated the Hatch Act, and this is something that is not being covered too much in the media because, like everything else that doesn't reflect well on the left, it gets pushed aside. It gets swept under the rug. So you have the acting head of the FBI, Andrew McCabe, facing 3 separate federal inquiries into his behavior. The sexual misconduct, the sexual discrimination, they feel is coming as some form of retaliation for the acts of Robert Gritz. This is in its infancy. This is going to go far. And will it cost him his job? Who knows? But he's definitely not going to be the head of the FBI. And we'll keep you posted here on the Savage Nation. But this is one that's kind of trickling out now. Not too many people are talking about it. I think people are kind of Comey'd out, to be quite honest with you. Comey hearings and with all of the Russia stuff that has now fallen flat, people are tired of it, and it's not getting much play right now, but it will happen. And remember, you, like with the Project Veritas bomb yesterday, heard it first here on the Savage Nation, and we'll continue to discuss that already. 855-400-SAVAGE if you would like to get in on the conversation. And there's also the issue of Sarah Palin suing the New York Times, basically blaming her in a column for the shooting of Gabby Giffords a few years back. It's been coming for a long time, and she has finally filed this lawsuit. I am sure that the media butchers will come out against Sarah Palin as they did since day one when she was announced as the running mate for John McCain back for the 2008 election. The way they treated her, the way they treated her family, the way they treated her grandchildren, her daughters, still to this day when her name comes up. And I'm not talking about the comedic stuff. Saturday Night Live wants to make fun. That's all well and good. That's what comedians do. Some of it was a little bit over the line because Saturday Night Live doesn't know how to be funny. But the viciousness from the mainstream media against this woman, and now to blame her for an assassination attempt on a United States Congresswoman who was really the job of just some nut, is beyond the pale. But that's what we're dealing with in this day and time. And that was a few years ago. She's filed a lawsuit now. It's only gotten worse. It's only gotten worse. You saw the massacre at the ball field a couple of weeks ago. Representative Scalise is still in the hospital. Here's a quick question for the Savage Nation family. How many of you, it's not a trick question because I didn't realize it either until earlier today. How many knew that Representative Scalise is still in the hospital? I have to say, I feel bad because I did not think about it. There's so much going on, and the news cycle changes so rapidly. Of course, I remember the shooting and how bad he was doing and 3 operations, but then it just went away. You know, the big news of the day yesterday, one of the things outside of the Project Veritas audio was, Jim Acosta was annoyed that he couldn't ask a question at the press conference, trying to tie Russia to Trump and the same old. But the guy's in the hospital. He almost died. 3 surgeries. And most of the country, myself included, forgot that he was even in the hospital. That's horrible. I'm embarrassed by that. Let's get to the phones. Let's go to Connecticut. Ted on WDRC. Welcome to the Savage Nation.
Yes, thank you, Lou. Great job.
Thank you.
I have to say, we cannot forget our forefathers, our mothers, our great-great-grandparents who fought and died for our country. You know, I just can't help not saying something. When 9/11 happened, it was so horrific for all of us. And if you could talk to any of their families, I would really want to know how many people voted for President Donald Trump, because he really, after that happened and after so many horrific things happened, all he wants to do is to keep our country safe. I voted for him, and I will always, support him because that's his main goal. Even though I know a few little things about him from Connecticut, something that happened. If you want to ask me, I'll be happy to tell you.
Listen, he's got a 40-year history of real estate. I worked in Trump Tower on his apartment. I've heard some things over the years, and there were times where he was not a very likable character, depending on the public persona. But the day he rode that escalator down in Trump Tower and announced that he was running for president, he made those comments about rapists and drug dealers coming over the border. Everything changed. Everything changed. Look, I'm born and raised in New York, and I was never, and I worked in Trump Tower, and I've been in the man. I never met him, but I've been in the man's presence many times. And he is not a popular guy in New York. New Yorkers traditionally did not like Donald Trump. I didn't hate him. I just wasn't a fan. He was just kind of there and working in the building, like you said. You knew some things from real estate in Connecticut, but the day he made that announcement, everything changed. In one full swoop, he swept the slate clean and started all over because he said what the people wanted to hear, Ted. And what it comes down to is he connected with people. Okay? Right. What he said resonated with people, and it still does. And you want to know the problem? The reason it resonated is because establishment Republicans and establishment Democrats in Washington, D.C. And of course, the abomination that was the Obama administration, that helped. But people want change. Washington is crippled. It's paralyzed. They're not doing anything. It's their own private club. And look, right there in Dr. Savage's book, Trump's War, His Battle for America, Chapter 1, The Enemies Within. It's all right there. His biggest enemy is not the Democrats. His biggest enemy is the establishment Republicans. That's who he has to watch out for because he's upsetting the apple cart, Ted.
You know what it is? We need to, as American people, whoever we are, living in this country, we have to do everything in our power to do our homework and to make sure whoever we pick for president is in our best interest. And I did that, and that's when I voted for President. All
right. Well, I'll tell you what. And thanks for your call, Ted. Do appreciate you listening in from the great WDRC. Hillary didn't have anybody's best interest in mind except for hers. She didn't even have Chelsea's or Bill's. It was all about her. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Lou Pate here with you. If you want to get on the conversation, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Remember, go to michaelsavage.com. Listen to the James O'Keefe interview. Sign up for the newsletter. Get your headlines and order your copy of Trump's War, His Battle for America. You are listening to The Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Welcome back to the Savage Nation. Lou Pate sitting in for Dr. Savage. He will return tomorrow. In the meantime, get the latest headlines. Subscribe to the Savage newsletter at michaelsavage.com. There is just so much going on that site, but not till after the show. Not till after the show. Keep it right here. Dial me up at 855-400-SAVAGE. But, of course, pick up a copy of Trump's War, his battle for America. You see it going on right in front of you. You see the media is against him. You see the establishment Democrats are against him, the establishment Republicans. Make that all Democrats. You see what is going on. And the fact that he keeps coming out the victor in most of these battles is pretty incredible. Well, when the opponents are lying, well, that makes it a lot easier. But it's all laid out for you right there in Trump's War, his battle for America. More important now than ever, this message must be heard. Let's get back to the phones. Ed at Flagship KSFO in San Francisco. Welcome to the Savage Nation.
Hey, thank you, Lou. Really appreciate you taking the call. And by the way, filling in for Doc Savage, when you talk about being Comied out, I really got a kick out of that.
Well, aren't you? I mean, I'm Comied out. Aren't you Comied out?
Absolutely, absolutely. And like you say, in San Francisco, it's like living in North Korea. You know, try putting a Trump bumper sticker on your car.
Listen, I lived in Seattle for 6 years, and any type of conservative, Republican, any type of bumper sticker on the car, a lot of times the car was vandalized, keyed, or tires slashed, things of that nature. It was horrible.
Absolutely.
And this is our tolerant friends on the left.
Yeah, you got that right. Hey, listen, the thing about CNN, they're probably in their own conversations crowing about more eyeballs, but I would call that. It's like car crash eyeballs. You know, when you're going down the highway and you see a car crash on the other side of the road and everybody slows down and it becomes a big crowd and it's moving slow.
Rubberneckers who can't help but look.
And that's all that's going on with CNN now. It's not like they're building some intellectual base on their journalism.
Well, I am sure that somewhere in the CNN buildings, whether it's Atlanta or New York today, that with the Project Veritas audio from yesterday, and then the audio that was released today and video of Van Jones, which broke here on the Savage Nation yesterday. James O'Keefe announced that it would be coming out. I'm sure that someone used the old adage, Ed, there's no such thing as bad publicity. I'm sure that they have to be, because you have to try to convince yourself that this isn't hurting you. But trust me, it has not been a good couple of days for CNN especially, but the mainstream media altogether. What do you think?
Absolutely, but and as I say, when all this calms down, the people who like integrity in their news, they're going to disappear. They won't be watching it. I mean, I've got some problems these days with Fox News, but at least you have a little bit of both sides of the issues there.
I think that what Dr. Savage said yesterday should happen, that Phil Griffin from NBC, MSNBC, and Jeff Zucker from CNN should be called to answer why they have been spreading misinformation. Look, Ed, you're not allowed to scream fire in a movie theater. Well, are you allowed to mislead the people to the point where then people are getting violent? I'm not blaming CNN. I'm not blaming MSNBC, for the massacre at the ball field. But I can ask the question, is CNN and MSNBC ginning people up? Because, if you looked at that guy's Facebook, if you looked at all of his social media, he was a big watcher of these channels, and he was eating with a big spoon everything that they put out there. And now we know for a fact that they were putting it out there knowing it wasn't true. BS, as the video says. So, they should be made to answer for their nefarious actions.
One other point on that.
Sure. Just quick, because we're coming up on the bottom.
Hello?
Yeah, I say just quickly because we're coming up on the bottom. You broke away there for a second.
You have Democrats going to the floor in the House and the Senate talking about how the new Republican health care is going to kill people. When are they coming off with that?
Yeah, well, we'll keep an ear to that. But thanks for your call, Ed. Do appreciate it. Amazing, isn't it? Yeah, Dr. Savage said it yesterday. Phil Griffin. Jeff Zucker. They should be sat before Congress and answer for their deeds of misinformation. Their evil deeds, in my opinion. My name is Lou Page, sitting here on the Savage Nation, the home of Trump's war, his battle for America.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE.
It's the Savage Nation. Lou Pate filling in for Dr. Savage. He will return tomorrow. But for now, get all the latest headlines. Subscribe to the Savage newsletter. Go to michaelsavage.com. A lot of the stories that we talked about today, even some we just touched on, like Anthony Scaramucci possibly having a $100 million libel suit against CNN for linking him to the Russia collusion story, a story that had to be taken down from their site. That's there on michaelsavage.com. The aforementioned James O'Keefe, breaking news here on the Savage Nation about audio that's to come today, and that was the Van Jones Nothing Burger audio. Can we play? Actually, Robert, can we play that? I'd like for the audience members who maybe weren't listening. Yesterday, Dr. Savage was talking with James O'Keefe, the founder and head of Project Veritas. Project Truth. You can go to projectveritas.com, Veritas.com. And he told him he had audio coming today from a name everybody knows. He said it to Dr. Savage. He broke it here. No one else was in on this. It was an exclusive. And today this audio broke. This is Van Jones, the person who referred to election night as a white lash against and I quote, black president and a changing nation. And a guy who has beat the drum on this Russia collusion story for a long time now. This is him right here on the Savage Nation. Clip one, please, Robert.
Hey, man. We met in Palm Springs a few years back.
Good to see you, man. You good?
Yeah. How you been? What are you doing? What do you think's going to happen this week? I mean, with the whole Russia thing.
The Russia thing is just a big nothing burger.
Really?
A big nothing burger. I guess he's been hanging out with Hillary Clinton because she used that to describe the various scandals that swirled around her. And I just want to get this in. We talked about the travel ban. We talked about Elmo being used for propaganda purposes, the pending vote on Kate's Law, which we'll have here at the Savage Nation if it comes down before the end of the show. If not, Dr. Savage will have it for you when it happens. But 60% of Americans support Trump's immigration welfare ban, okay? This is not going to get much play. They only want to present to you the poll numbers that come out negative. They only want to talk about issues where people are against what he's doing, and a lot of times I don't even know who they're talking to because it's easy to find other polls that counter that. But the plan by President Donald Trump to ban immigrants who have only been living in the United States for less than 5 years from receiving welfare services has widespread support. A Rasmussen poll shows 62% of likely voters say they support barring new immigrants in the United States from receiving welfare benefits for at least 5 years. I think that's fair. I'm down here in South Florida. They had an expose where people come up here from Cuba, get into the system, get welfare or get a Social Security, however they manage to work the system because they've got family members or friends who are working the system. Then they go back to Cuba and they collect our money. And they're not even contributing to society here in the United States. So 5 years, I think, is fair. Let's get back to the phones. Joe at WFTL in South Florida, 850 WFTL, a few miles from where I sit. Joe, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Hey, finally got through. Thank you for having me.
Hey, listen, I can meet you on the beach in Delray. We could talk all day, Joe.
Hey, after this conversation, we will.
How can I help you here on the Savage Nation?
Yeah, first, I want to let the audience know who they're talking to get a better perspective of where I'm coming from. I am the embodiment of what you would call a full-on leftist. When I grew up, I'm black and Cuban, so I grew up with that whole ideology of the white man is against you and, you know, you should do everything you can to defend yourself against him.
Yeah, but the Cuban people in South Florida don't feel the white man is against them, Joe.
Yeah. I mean, but the African American side of me is what I identified more with. And
okay.
Yeah. So I
do you feel that way too? Do you think the white male is the great Satan and all of that propaganda that goes out?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. When I was growing up, I used to. When I was when I went to my first year of college, when the Trayvon Martin thing happened, I was definitely, I was angry. I was furious.
So you're a young man, because Trayvon Martin was only 5 years ago.
Yeah, I am 29 years old, and I was when I tell you I was embroiled and I was furious, I was angry, that was me. But, you know, thanks to God, wisdom has come to me, just not, you know, a righteous indignation, but actual wisdom. And that's through my parents and my church, you know, taught me different, that the white man isn't, you know, this incorrigible devil that, you know, so many people talk about, that any, indifference that is felt is due to your own lack of knowledge and, you know, skill. And so,
or limited knowledge. Joe, what was the turning point for you? What is that? What, you know, in this labyrinth of life, what is that? What was the fork in the road that made you begin to see the light?
Now, I'm a completely honest guy. The turning point in my life was first God and then Donald Trump. When this man came and I heard him speak, and I said, this doesn't sound like, you know, your everyday politician. It doesn't sound like your everyday man. This man sounds real. This man actually sounds like he's going to get stuff done. And when, you know, I was called an Uncle Tom, you know, and all this other stuff, when I started to make it known of who I was voting for, I felt no ill will towards it. I didn't care, because I knew that this man was being genuine. So what I did, I denounced every single organization that I was with, NAACP, Black Lives Matter. Every single organization that you can think of, I was part of it. Denounced all of it and started my own organization coinciding with Blacks for Trump. And I reached out to these people. I reached out to Black Lives Matter. I reached out to the preachers, you know, so-called purporting this, you know, racist president, you know, that the media and everybody else is spewing out, and they didn't get back to me. Black Lives Matter. Nobody got back to me and wanted to sit at the table with an actual Trump supporter. So I said, well, let me go far right and find somebody on my side, but with a totally different concept. So
then you found Dr. Savage.
Not Dr. Savage. I'm talking about even more far right. I decided to go to the white supremacists. I decided to go to the KKK. And do you know that not only were these people loving and caring and wanting to work with me, but they put me through on a press conference for all their major groups.
When you say loving and caring, Joe, what do you mean? Give me an example of the KKK being loving and caring, aside from letting them sit in on the conference call, which is fine. But loving and caring is not something that usually is attributed to the KKK.
Yeah, let me not be fake news right now.
And okay, I just need you to be a little bit more succinct, because we're up against time. We got to be careful.
Yeah, of course. I don't want to use the phrases or phrasal idioms of loving and caring, but when I mean they were so welcoming, that is definitely a better word. They were
okay. So unlike the people you were associated with before NAACP, Black Lives Matter, they just didn't, you know, shut you out.
Yes.
Okay, that's a start.
Yeah, and these people were willing to work with me, and they said they would be absolutely ecstatic to get something started, a coalition with, you know, whatever black organizations I can come up with, and themselves to sort of, this all-powerful group. Because the only thing the left has, Donald Trump is a racist. He hates, and the people that voted for him are racist, and they hate.
But that's what they've been saying since day one, and that's what we've been telling you here on the Savage Nation and other places, all talk show hosts for the most part have been saying we are not bigots, we are not racist, there is no such thing as Islamophobia. When you call things as you see them, such as, they say not all Muslims are terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslims, there's a problem in that community, but they don't want to hear the truth. Just look, let me ask you one question, Joe. Barack Obama, the people who are calling you names, Uncle Tom and others, did you point out to them that the black community is worse off after 8 years of a black president or a so-called black president?
You can feed them every statistical jargon. When they call me an Uncle Tom, I ask them first, did you even read the book? Did you read Uncle Tom's Cabin? Because if you did, you wouldn't be calling me Uncle Tom as a compliment. You would be calling me Sambo. So if you're going to insult me, please use the right terminology. So you could come with any fact-based conversation. They don't listen to it. They are totally delusional, and they're under this false network of information from the media, in which they think that the only reason why they're in this oppressed state is because of the white man. And I was on that side. And I know
but see, that's an excuse when you have to see that the Black Lives Matter and NAACP, the Julian Bond people who used to run the NAACP, the Al Sharptons, the Jesse Jacksons, they're only interested in enriching themselves. They don't care about black people. They don't care about any people. They bunch us all together. It's all about fattening their wallet, and they've done very well. And now Black Lives Matter is the new one on the block. They get all that George Soros money. There were reports out there that they've gotten $33 million, spread out across the country. Where has that money gone? Because Black Lives Matter doesn't exactly have events. They don't spend money. So where is regardless of the amount of money they got from Soros, and we don't know the exact figure, where is all that money going? They're certainly not spending it in the community to enlighten people with information, because it is their bread and butter to keep their followers in the dark about the reality of what is going on. And that is what they did brilliantly during the Obama administration. That's why blacks still won't vote for a Republican candidate, although he was, Trump was resonating with all people except for the black community, because it's kind of been a brainwashing that's been going on there for decades.
Yeah, and last thing before I go, I know your time is short and precious. To any minority, any group that is listening to this station, come off of the brainwashed television. I think everybody should turn their television off, pick up Trump's war, and start reading. We have denigrated away from reading and from gathering information other than Google and the internet. Every single form of media is out there to brainwash you. Facebook, Google, YouTube are all tied together. Posting comments on YouTube against the leftist propaganda, they're getting deleted. All top comments, every single line of media that you can think of is brainwashing you, and people need to wake up and see it.
Well, Joe, WFTL, I wish you luck. Maybe we'll stumble across each other here in South Florida. Feel free to contact me through email. I would welcome the conversation, but thank you very much. Very open-minded, Joe, WFTL there in South Florida. Radicalized pretty much in the black community and then matured. Gives credit to God and moves forward with his life and sees things how they really are. Likes Donald Trump, encourages people to buy Trump's war, his battle for America, but sees the harm that is going on, not just in his own community, but for all of us, and that there is an ulterior motive, whether it's ACORN, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's the NAACP, or any other group out there, National Action Network, and so on and so forth. They say they care about these things. They say they care about schools in the urban area. They say they care about crime and safety in the black community, yet nothing ever improves. Think about it. Nothing ever improves. Al Sharpton's been in it for 40 years. Nothing ever improves that he puts his finger on, except, of course, his bank account. Same thing with Jesse Jackson. He's been doing it like 60 years. Rainbow Coalition, National Action Network. But all you can do is hope that people like Joe can have their message resonate with the younger people. Otherwise, it's a vicious cycle, and it's a very sad cycle. My name is Lou Pate. You're listening to The Savage Nation. As Joe at WFTL said, pick up a copy of Trump's War, His Battle for America. Check out the interview, the best interview Dr. Savage has ever done with James O'Keefe, Project Veritas. Go to michaelsavage.com. While there, well, you can subscribe to the newsletter as well, delivered free to your inbox. My name is Lou Pate. You are listening to The Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Welcome back to the Savage Nation, home of Trump's War, His Battle for America. Also go to michaelsavage.com. I've said it 1,000 times, but it cannot be said enough. Listen to the interview with Dr. Savage and James O'Keefe from Project Veritas from yesterday's show. The interview that broke the news that the Van Jones audio would be coming down today, only wasn't called Van Jones audio. Subscribe for the newsletter, delivered free to your inbox, and get all your news and all of your headlines there. As we head to the top of the show, I just want to let you know I'm holding in my hand a copy of Trump's War, His Battle for America. If you don't buy it now for yourself, well, buy it for a friend, because the message now is more important than ever, and we have to get it out there. From Chapter 1, Trump's War Against the Enemies Within, all the way to Chapter 13, The Battle Plan. I'm not going to give a spoiler alert here, but page 258, Savage Solutions. It's all laid out there. The economy, repealing Obamacare, restoring our borders, restoring our culture, restoring the military. When was the last time you heard a Democrat talk about that? Defeating the war machine. Defeating the rhinos, restoring real science. That really is in Dr. Savage's wheelhouse, given his history. Defending the First Amendment, defending the Second Amendment, and defeating the deep state. I'm not going to give you the particulars that are written under each one of those headlines, but you will be well served if you check them out in Trump's War, His Battle for America. Because the tomfoolery, I like to use that word, in the media goes on. CNN is digging in deep. So we'll keep it here at the Savage Nation. Special thanks to Robert. Special thanks to Jim, Team Savage. I love working with you guys, and you make it feel easy, but I know it's a lot of hard work, especially on your end. My name is Lou Pate. Make sure to check out the Savage Nation every day, Trump's War. My name is Lou Pate. You are listening to The Savage Nation.
Savage.